for some reason. Here we go. We are live here. We are just 25 minutes before game, so we are going to give you the absolute. Oh yeah. We had some feedback. There we go. That actually was on me. Say here. So Mark Abrams and BleedingGreenNation.com. Joe Santoliquito here. We're giving the absolute last word before Super Bowl 59 with a writer for the biggest Eagles website out there,
Right.
Bleeding Green Nation, Joe Santoliquito, who was firsthand knew what was going on down in New Orleans during the week. Joe,
Yeah.
what's happening?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Good. So we're just 25 minutes before the game. We've had 2 weeks to discuss, dissect, bisect, any other kind of sect of this game, turn it inside out, upside down. Before we get into predictions for everything, what kind of game are you expecting on both teams today?
I think it's going to be a great game. I hope it's going to be a great game. I mean, you have two teams that are coming in at the height of their powers. You have two teams that are very healthy. You have two teams that are coming off of impressive victories. I think the Chiefs had a little bit of a rougher time getting here. They had to get through Buffalo. Obviously, the Eagles smashing Washington the way people expected them to do. I expected the Eagles to win. I didn't expect the Eagles to win exactly that handily. But these are two teams that I don't think there's ever been a Super Bowl pick'em. But in the history of the Super Bowl, the long 59-year history of the Super Bowl, this is as close to a pick'em as you can get. I think still going in, I think it was still 1.5. The Chiefs were -1, 1.5 going in.
Yeah.
So it literally and figuratively could be anybody's game. But again, one team has a particular certain magical player that the other team doesn't. Now, I granted, again, I know the Eagles have, and many people think this and believe it, and I believe it too. They do have the better team, but that doesn't necessarily turn out sometimes to always be the winning team. I mean, we've seen teams in the past. We've seen the Giants beat the Patriots twice, and they didn't have the better team. So it's you do have teams that turn around and can and can win the Super Bowl without necessarily having the better team. And what the Chiefs have that the Eagles don't have is one, Patrick Mahomes, and what the Eagles used to have, but the Chiefs certainly have right now, is Andy Reid. I mean, when you turn around, you lay out everything. You could lay out all the Eagles players and Chiefs players in a schoolyard, in a playground, and you're picking and I'm picking. And Mark, you come on, you got to be honest with me. I mean, who's the first guy you got to pick? You got to pick Patrick Mahomes. You lay out the coaching staffs of both these teams. Who are you going to pick? You're going to pick Andy Reid first. And maybe Sirianni, maybe for second or third, considering Spagnuolo's out there and Vic Fangio's out there. But right now, the head of that monster is a very strong, much stronger head than the Eagles monster. Even though the body of the Eagles monster, I would say, is a stronger than the Chiefs.
Do you think the Eagles have played a certain way, especially since, I guess, week 5, where it was back football the way we grew up watching, run, and the pass here, run. Did you expect the Eagles to deviate from that, being that you mentioned like Spagnuolo's had 2 weeks to prepare for, the last 17, 18 games where the Eagles have played a certain way?
Yeah, the Eagles will continue playing that certain way. And the reason why the Eagles will continue playing that certain way is because it got them here. Talking to some people during the course of the week down there in New Orleans and up here in Philadelphia, you have someone that's teams as Ray Dinger turns around and says to me, Joe, if they deviate from what they've done here, teams that have tried to deviate in the Super Bowl from what they did to get there lose. I mean, it's just the way, why turn around and change something up that's worked for you? And we see it, we see it sometimes all the time, and we see it during the course of games where guys, something doesn't work, or something works, and you try to be the smartest guy in the room, and you switch things up, but a lot of times it turns around and bites you in the tail. No, I think Sirianni will stick with what's gotten him here. I think Vic Fangio obviously has the greater challenge in terms of trying to turn around and get through and put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, we saw it 3 years ago when Tampa Bay just absolutely crushed the Chiefs. But remember, though, too, in that game, the Chiefs had a very devastated offensive line. This offensive line is not exactly to the level of the Eagles. Caliendo, the left guard, being the weakest link out of that group. But they're capable, and they're certainly not decimated the way that Chiefs team was when Mahomes was running for his life that whole night. On the defensive side, you have Jalen Carter, who's a game breaker and an absolute stud. But Mark, you got to turn around and give props where it's due to Chris Jones. I mean, Chris Jones is as much of a game breaker. You could say maybe old school, where Chris Jones is an Aaron Donald type, whereas Jalen Carter, obviously he's going to be the next Aaron Donald. The other thing too that has to be held in consideration here, and none of us know this, and the only person on the planet that knows this, is how Jalen Carter feels. Granted, he practiced hard, but practicing hard and doing things is one thing. Coming off an illness and feeling decimated and weakened by that is something different. I mean, I'm sure they're going to turn around and hydrate him as much as they can. The other thing that was kind of weird that I noticed is Saquon Barkley sweating up a storm prior to this game. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the heat's turned up down there, or what's going on with all that. But maybe that this is. I mean, granted, it's Saquon Barkley's been in huge games. He's a huge superstar, but this is his. It also is his first Super Bowl. So having experience here, having experience there is one thing. Having been there does mean quite a bit. And the core of this Chiefs team, this is their third straight year, fourth in the last 5. And this is a core group that has been there. And a good majority of the a good group of this Eagles team has been there, at least on the offensive side. This is almost a whole new defense than they had 2 years ago. It's a better defense. It's a faster defense. It's a defense now. It's a 3-tier defense. Remember that defense that lost to the Chiefs 2 years ago was very, very heavy, talented up front. They won by putting pressure on the quarterback, an all-time Eagles record in terms of sacks that season. This team has talent at every level, they're not solely dependent on the defensive line. As a matter of fact, I mean, with the exception of Jalen Carter, who's a pocket collapser, if there's a weak link to this Eagles defense, it may be the lack of pressure at times that the Eagles have been able to put on a quarterback.
Well, the Eagles will get Brandon Graham back, I would imagine, for about 15, 20 snaps or so. I actually think outside of turnovers, which is something we can't predict, we don't know Jalen Hurts is going to put the ball on the ground and, Nick Bolton's going to pick it up and run it back 50 yards for a touchdown. Other than turnovers, I think it's very simple this game. The Eagles on defense and third down. If they can stop enough 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 7s, and get off the field without giving up enough first downs for the Chiefs to get to scoring range or even close enough for them to go for it on 4th and 1, 4th and 2. I think, like you said, I think the most talented team is going to win. I think it's a simple game. I mean, I really do. Third down.
Actually, I'll tell you what. You say third down. Actually, I disagree with that. I think both teams' success on first down will dictate how this game goes.
I mean, that's true. But eventually, when it gets to those money downs, which is third down, if Mahomes is completing, converting 60, 70% of his 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 4s, and keeping drives alive to get the Chiefs in a better scoring range, I think
this is interesting that Fangio made a point during the time down in New Orleans, and talking about how Mahomes' pre-snap reads are very, very underrated. That's huge. And I did make sure you and I had this personal discussion about this. I did make sure, and I double-checked it. It is the top. Mahomes is 3-0 against the top-rated passing defense in the playoffs. 2 of those 3 victories were in the Super Bowl against the 49ers and against the Eagles 2 years ago. So he's had success against number 1 rated pass defenses because, again, it gives them time to turn around and pick apart a lot of things. 2 weeks is a lot of time. Andy Reid, and Mark, you got to, I know where you're leaning and everything, but you got to say this. Andy Reid has seen everything in the NFL.
He's him and Mike Tomlin are the two,
And Spagnuolo has seen everything in the NFL. Vic Fangio has seen everything in the NFL. So there's nothing really that these guys, nothing to hide from these guys. These guys will also make adjustments. But in the end, I just can't help but think, like Jordan, and I'm probably going to be crucified in Philly, which is not the first time or last time. That's going to happen. But you have a Jordan-esque Mark. Again, I know an Eagle slant, you're wearing your green thing and all that stuff. But Mahomes is as close to Jordan as anybody on that field.
Oh, no one's questioned that. I don't think anyone's questioned that. He's the top dog in the league. Another point. I guess Monday in that same building or in that same city, Kellen Moore's going to be named head coach of the New Orleans Saints. It's much ado about nothing. I know. Eagles fans are already looking for an excuse or something. Kellen Moore's 1,000% focused on what's going to go on today. Correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. And he's handled this far, far better than Jonathan Gannon handled the Arizona situation. I'll stop. I'll leave that where it lies. I think Jonathan Gannon prepared the Eagles as best as he could 2 years ago. I think it was very real.
He had half an eye on his upcoming job, correct?
Yeah, but I think Kellen Moore has time. I have the very strong impression Kellen Moore's time managed this far better than Jonathan Gannon time managed his situation 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's much to do about nothing.
Yeah, it is.
And there are some Eagle fans that they're already kind of bracing and looking for something.
People looking for an excuse. Even prior to the kickoff. It's just very simple, Mark. It comes down to stopping Patrick Mahomes. It comes down to it comes down to possibly can Russell finally stop Michael Jordan. He didn't.
Well, like I said, we'll switch topics real quick. I think just kind of outside of turnovers, which you can't predict, or someone breaking off a punt return, which happened in the last game, which you really can't predict. They're freak plays that happen, once in a blue moon. Outside that, I think the Eagles are going to control the game. They're going to keep the ball away from Michael Jordan. They're going to maybe play a little Dean Smith action, little four corners with the running game. Maybe we'll see some 15-play drives with a steady diet of Barkley. So, splashing some Gainwell, short passes over the middle to Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert. And that's amazing about the Eagles. The Eagles have basically done it with like four guys on offense because they've got not really much out of Jahan Dotson. Gainwell has been a nice spot player for them. But it's basically been the two wide receivers, Barkley and Goddard, when healthy.
Yeah. And the Chiefs counter that obviously with Kelsey, who I believe has lost a step. Xavier Worthy could be the X factor here. Here's a guy that's a blossoming player that at the end of this game, maybe everybody in the world knows who Xavier Worthy is.
All right. Well, I see out by the corner of my eye the teams are about to hit the field. Joe, quick prediction.
Let me get your prediction first.
I think the Eagles are going to win by 10 points. I can see something like a 27-17 kind of game.
Okay, I see a little bit more scoring. I see Chiefs 31, Eagles 27.
There you have it. Is it 31-27 where Mahomes wins it late, or is it the Chiefs kind of in control?
Mahomes pulls some magic off and wins it late. Yeah.
So maybe a second straight game-winning drive. We'll see. Joe, thank you for a few minutes' time. Enjoy the game, and go Birds.